Entrophic, by releasing Claude skills, changed how we work forever, because now we can literally automate any task, any workflow by simply prompting it. Building good skills is gonna be one of the most important things to learn in 2026. In this video, I'm gonna give you a complete guide of what skills are and what makes them powerful, how to use them inside Claude, how to create your very own skill, and even I will share with you a package of 10 plus free skills so you can download them and put in your Claude instance. So with all that being said, let's dive in. And the first thing you need to understand is what even a skill is. So as you can read, Claude is already brilliant. It's amazing LLM, it can perform many tasks, but a skill makes it yours. So I would compare skill as for the recipe. So basically recipe with how to exactly make a dish. So skill, as you can read, is a plain language file that teaches Claude exactly how to handle a task. Your way, your standards, every time. So we'll give exact instructions to Claude how to do something, okay? Maybe you would like to use this tone, these elements, what's the process of the specific task, and this is basically a skill. So it contains step-by-step task instructions, your quality criteria format, your tone, voice and style, domain expertise and context. So once you're using only Claude, it's also brilliant because it's highly intelligent, but it doesn't know your specific processes, your standards, or your own way of doing things. And for that we've got a skill. And once we compare, basically we combine Claude and a skill, we've got a result. So our expert on demand, Claude, now operates exactly like a specialist trained in our method, instantly every session for our whole team. And why skill is even really powerful? Because let's say you are doing some repetitive work. For example, like you're creating a report inside Claude, okay? And now basically you've got a chat. So in this chat you every time type something to create a report for you. However, when you have a skill, you've got the exact method, basically how to do this report inside Claude. So every time you create a report, whenever, in any chat, you can use this skill and basically Claude is gonna actually trigger the skill for you and create a report exactly how you want it. So once you have a well-built skill, basically we are gonna learn it in this video, Claude does your task every time your way. Zero rebriefing each session, consistent quality at scale, and you can even share it with your entire team. So basically, let's say you've got a task to delegate and you can share the skill and the employee can actually use it in its Claude instance. This is a great comparison. Think of a skill like writing the perfect onboarding doc for a brilliant new hire. You write it once. From that moment, Claude knows your process, your standards and your way of doing things perfectly every time. But now there is even a question. Alright, but we've got something called custom GPTs. We've got N8 and Make automation platforms that literally can do work for us. But now let me compare the skills to these specific solutions. So once we have the custom GPT, it's easy to create, no code needed. However, it's kind of limited because it's isolated. It lives in a separate window. It's static. It doesn't improve over time. And you've got one chat window, so one locked context. But skills allow us to work basically on multiple different things at once. So we've got plain language, anyone can write it, lives inside your existing Claude workflow. It's self-improving, so you can update it anytime, and one agent can run thousands of skills. So basically, it's kind of really versatile. And for the N8 and Make.com, we've got, it's a kind of great. So it's consistent and repeatable once built, but it requires technical setup and maintenance. It's rigid, so it breaks when context changes, and there is no reasoning, so purely deterministic. So once we build it, there is no reasoning, no basically self-improvement. But here, when it comes to skills, we can run some things, do some things, but there is also the reasoning. So it's kind of, let's compare it to an LLM that actually have a superpower. So it has a way of you doing things. Once we combine it with Claude Cowork and Claude plugins, you can find the videos on this channel. It's unstoppable because basically Claude Cowork can control your entire computer. Basically control your folder, open your browser, search something in your browser, and once you've got the skill, which is an instruction how to do a task, then you can just delegate Claude how to exactly do some specific thing, and you can do it literally in the background. Once you are, for example, running, you eat dinner, or you do anything else. And now before I show you how to add a skill inside Claude, how to use it, I'm gonna share with you 10 skills from me for you to use. Let me tell you something, because right now we are in the progress of creating Claude Masterclass. It's gonna be approximately, I think, 20 hours course, where you are gonna master Claude Cowork, Claude Skills, Skills Plugins. So we've got everything inside this masterclass. And now, if you fulfill the form that I'm gonna put in the description of this video, basically you can get the early access for only $9.99. So $10 for, this is one-time payment for lifetime access of the course. However, it's limited to only 100 spots, and the course launches on March 28th. And when the course launches, then you can buy it for just $10. I'm gonna give you a discount code. So basically, feel free to fulfill the form. I'm gonna put it in the description once again. And yeah, this course is gonna be really powerful because it's gonna cover the entire Claude platform. So once again, Cowork, Code, Skills, Plugins, you've got access for only $10. But now let's dive deep and let me show you how you can add a skill to Claude. So first of all, you need to have a Claude desktop app. So you need to download it, and then also a pro plan of Claude. And here in the left top corner, basically you've got a customize button, so customize option, and you've got skills, connectors, and plugins. Plugins we cover in other video of on this channel, so basically you can check it. However, right now we can click on skills. So once we click on skills, here we can add some specific skill by clicking on a plus. And there we can create some with Claude, or even we can upload some skill. Nevertheless, we've got example skills provided by Infographic. So canvas design, algorithm art, brand guidelines, internal comms, MCP builder, and so on and so on. So for example, when we click on this specific skill, right now we can enable it in the right top corner. So just click here, and then the skill is basically enabled. So we can try it in a chat. We've got description of what the skill does. And here a skill is a markdown file that contains all the instructions for this skill to work. So as you can see, I've got here many skills, but basically right now let's go ahead to canvas design and read what this skill does. So create beautiful visual art in PNG and PDF format. You should use this skill when the user asks to create a poster, piece of art, design, or other static piece. So basically, this is the markdown file. It explains how the skill should be used. So basically, this is a recipe for this entire task. So how to create this visual art or even PDF. And now let's test it out. So we can click here and we can try it in chat. And there is a question, how to basically, how to trigger a skill. So you don't need to do anything special to trigger a skill, because when you do some tasks, so let's say you've got the skill to create arts or PDFs enabled, it's gonna, once you just run the command, it's gonna kind of look at the metadata, so the data that is in Claude, and it's every time here, it's gonna look at it and see if there is actually an option to trigger some specific skill. So very simply, if you have some skills enabled and you create something which relates to these skills, then Claude picks one skill to use or even a few skills. So we don't need to, for example, like trigger the skill name, like type the skill name or something, okay? We just need just to give a specific task that is inside the skill. So for example, I can type something like this. Please create for me an infographic in PDF format about Claude new plugins feature. Intentionally, I'm gonna remove this part, so I'm not gonna say like trigger this canvas design skill, because I wanna show you that it's gonna, like, even though I removed this part, it's gonna trigger this skill. So once we run it, then at the right side, it's gonna create for us a plan. And here in context, we'll have an information what it's gonna use, so what skill. So we'll have the references. Now let's wait a while. So now you can notice we've got 4 steps progress. However, what's very important, we've got the skills. So we've got canvas design skill, which is in use. So it's gonna use this specific skill to create for us a PDF file. So yeah, we are just right now waiting, and then it's gonna just execute the entire process. Okay, so we've got it. This is the infographic we've created. And the first look, I can see we've got many different elements. And also sometimes the text is in weird position, so it overlaps the other text. However, we can just solve it really quickly inside Claude. But overall, yeah, it actually covers Claude plugins really comprehensively, and just within seconds, basically within a few minutes, we've got this infographic created with this specific skill that is responsible to perform a task in a certain way. And now, as I told you at the beginning of this video, I've got for you a file that contains plus 10 ready Claude skills to use. So basically you can download them and just upload inside your Claude instance. And they are for many different purposes. So this skill is for comprehensive research. This is for writing, this is for converting the documents, this is for writing perfect CTAs. And here, once you just expand this specific drop down, you will see what this skill does, how to trigger it, and also you will have actually the written form. Nevertheless, here you can download this specific skill. So just right click on it, click on download, and then we can go ahead to Claude. So once we are in Claude, we can go here, click on customize, enter to skills, and now in the right top corner, let's click on skills. Here, right there, we can upload our very own skill. So now let's take my skill and just put it here. Let's wait. And then this specific skill is uploaded and you can use it right away inside Claude. So this skill is written in the Markdown format, and it contains all the instructions how to perform the specific task, so write perfect CTAs. But now, once I mentioned a Markdown, let's cover an anatomy of a skill, because it's really important. Once we are inside Claude, for example, you can see I've got a skill which is CTA Optimizer, I've got CSV to presentations. However, when I click on, for instance, a research, it expands for me a file which is a skill Markdown, so MD, and this kind of a folder which is workflows. So what does it mean? Basically, once we create a skill, we've got a multiple options, basically different approach how we can create it. The main thing we need to have is skill MD format, basically a file. This is the main file that indicates how skill should perform, should behave, should act, and should be triggered. So inside skill MD, as we go, for example, here, we've got all the instructions of how this skill should work once again. So it's a recipe. Treat it as a recipe to make some specific dish, okay? However, along with a skill, we may have some scripts, we may have some references and assets. So these are additional things that actually make our skill sometimes even better. Because let's say you've got a skill that is responsible for creating responses via Gmail to some customers, okay? But now once you have a skill that's gonna have a recipe how to respond to a customer, and you don't have the references, kind of the assets about your company and who you are and what your company's main role is, then it's gonna be really useful because it doesn't have the additional context. So assets in that case. So sometimes with a skill, you may encounter a skill which is a folder and it's gonna have the main skill MD file, some scripts, references, or even some assets. So scripts are for executing tasks, processes, data, triggers, operations. So it's actually the action layer. References is the knowledge layer, and assets is the output layer. So here, a skill is a structured capability. It defines behavior, controls reasoning boundaries, enforces workflow logic, enables repeatable execution. So without a skill, Claude just gives an advice, but with a skill, Claude performs structured work. It's very, very important. Another thing I want to cover is something called progressive disclosure, because it exactly tells how Claude handles skills. So basically we've got three different levels. The first one is metadata, the second one is core instructions, the third one is supporting resources. So the metadata is the thing, actually the data, which is always loaded inside Claude. I would compare it to having some specific knowledge about what the skill does, about the name, about the description, for what we can use this skill, and basically like it's always loaded inside Claude. So it's like having, like knowing that actually you have a skill. It's named like this, for what we can use it and when we can use it. So once, for example, we run some tasks, we perform some tasks inside Claude, and we, let's say, trigger some specific action that is basically relevant to some skill, Claude's gonna know that, hey, right now we can use this skill because the person wants to perform the specific task which is related to some skill. So it's called metadata, and the format is YOML front matter, and if it doesn't tell anything to you, no problem. Like, remember that Claude has an ability to basically remember what's the name of the skill, what it does, and when to use it. The second level is kind of loading a skill. So we've got a skill MD file, so it's loaded when relevant. So for example, when the user actually triggers some specific task which is related to some skill, then we load the skill MD file. And it contains the step-by-step workflow, best practices, examples, error handling. So this is a recipe for a task. And the third level is deep dive. So once for example, a skill contains some additional resources, we upload these resources, actually we load them. So these are the scripts, references, and also some assets. And it allows Claude to basically use less tokens and us to use less tokens based on some task. Because if we have a task that doesn't need to load any of the skills, like, it doesn't make any sense to just every time load every skill we have. Also, there are three main categories of skills, so really quickly. The first category is document asset creation, so it produces high quality, consistent output, so we can use it for creating PDFs, presentations, code, if you have any written content to create, anything literally that is actually based on the document or even asset. The second one is workflow automation, so here if you wanna basically like execute multi-step processes, you can create that skill, and it runs step by step with validation. So it acts as kind of an automation, and it performs the tasks. Basically, the things you tell step by step, you include inside this specific skill. And the third one is MCP enhancement. So basically, it's more customized for Claude Code, because here we can also use skills. So basically, we can use skills inside the chat, inside Cowork, and inside code. However, when it comes to code, we can directly give a skill and access to MCP. So then we can be able to combine skills with some external tools. So for example, Notion, Slack, etc. Also, Cowork and chat. So Claude basically can access external tools. However, it works differently. It's kind of more limited. However, in Claude Code, we've got a full control over our MCP. So these are the three categories of skills. And now let me show you how to create a perfect skill inside Claude, because yeah, you can create a skill inside Claude on your own within minutes. So overall, when we take a look at the example skills provided by Infographic, we can see something which is called Skill Creator. And yeah, this is a skill that's the only responsibility is to create new skills. So once we click here, we can try it in chat. We can just design a new skill for us basically to use. So you've got actually two approaches to create a skill. The first one approach is iterative approach, and it allows you to basically constantly provide details about a skill. So you start with a sentence, which is this one, you can run it, and then constantly you can provide some details to the model. And the second approach is approach to provide all the details at once. So in the one single message, you provide every single detail about the skill you want to create. However, we will continue with this specific approach, so you're gonna see the entire process of creating a new skill. So now you can see Claude loaded our skill creator skill, and now we can choose some options. So what would you like to create or improve today? I would like to build a brand new skill. The next question is, what should the skill do? Describe the task, workflow, or problem. And we've got some options, or we can just provide some, basically our idea. However, I would like to continue with YouTube video script writer. It seems really interesting. The next question is about the style and tone. So let's say it's gonna be high energy motivational, and the typical length for the video, which is medium, 10-15 minutes. Additionally, it realized I have a skill which is called YouTube thumbnail designer. So I've got the skill that I built, and yeah, that's great because we are gonna have two skills that are related to one thing. And now you can see it's in the process of creating this skill. Additionally, it uses my other skills, which is, for example, hook rider, hook engineer. So it will even help me, like other skill will help to create the new skill to improve my hooks. Okay, so hooks for the video. Now we've got the plan, which is 7 steps. So it's gonna process with each single step. So firstly, we've got research about our brand, drafting skill, and then it's gonna just do the entire process to create for us a new skill. And it takes usually a few to several minutes. Alright, so the skill is completed, and now what we can do, we can install this skill inside Claude, or just copy here to our skills. We can click here to copy to our skills, and once we do this, we can go there to customize, and then check if this skill is available. So we've got YouTube script writer, and here we've got our skill MD file, so markdown, and here's some references of voice and style, so how I exactly talk in my videos. So that's great. Now we can go over ahead and use this specific skill. So we can try it in a chat, and I can type something like, oops, let's do it this way. Okay, I can type something like, could you create for me a script for my Claude skills video on YouTube? Let's run it. So we have our script created. Let's preview it so we can view our script. And that's totally great. We've got our hook section, we've got our intro, we've got section 1. That's amazing. It's really comprehensive. Even we've got our notes, b-roll, and every single information. And from this moment, I can create basically script about any video I want to record. And maybe, let's say, like, it won't be like 100% exact the same, but it's still gonna help me with a lot of content in my future YouTube videos. And that we have it. Thank you for watching this material. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, click the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below what you think about Claude skills. Additionally, remember to download 10 skills, basically totally for free. I put the link also in the description. And also, if you want, you can check out our AI enthusiasts community. This is a free community. We've got plus 10k users. We've got a lot of content inside. And additionally, remember, we are publishing our Claude Masterclass on 28th of March. So also you can sign up, you can fulfill the form, and you can get the access for only $10. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next material.